Hey guys, the Coaster Fanatic here. As promised is the top 10 steel roller coasters that I have ridden. Here we go. Number 10 is Wicked at Lagoon Park. This is a fun launched roller coaster. I definitely love the vertical launch. That definitely is the high topic of this roller coaster. Number 9 is Superman Ultimate Flight at Six Flags Great Adventure. This is probably the most underrated coaster that I've ever been on. It is insane. Flying coasters are just amazing. The pretzel loop is just fantastic. And there's nothing really bad about flying coasters. I have not thought of one bad thing about flying coasters. Number 8 is another underrated roller coaster, Powder Keg. This has extreme airtime. I was very surprised of how much airtime I found on this roller coaster. The launch was really amazing and is probably the weirdest roller coaster I've ever been on. A launch and a lift hill. That is actually pretty fun, and the drop is amazing. I highly recommend riding this ride if you ever get the chance. Number 7 is Griffin at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, the B&M dive coaster. This is amazing for obvious reasons. It's got the famous 2 drops and just intensity and high speeds. There's nothing really else to talk about besides the steep drops and this high speed. Number 6 is another underrated roller coaster, Volcano the Blast Coaster at Kings Dominion. This is probably the best inverted roller coaster I've ever been on. Yes, it is counted as an inverted roller coaster, even though it is a really weird roller coaster because it's not your average inverting roller coaster. Most inverted coasters have a chain lift that do multiple inversions. And this one just has 4 inversions, 3 of the same kind, which are Heartline rolls with a sidewinder when you come out of the volcano. It even spits out fire. It is just so underrated and is probably the best launch I've ever been on a roller coaster. But not the best coaster with the launch. Number 5 is another underrated roller coaster. That is Superman Ride of Steel at Six Flags America. Most people give a lot of hate for this roller coaster because it's such a weird intimate. It's not really your average hypercoaster at all. Think of B&M hypercoasters, how they have multiple airtime hills. This one is kind of weird because it has helixes, minimum airtime hills, and kind of that straight section, which can kind of be weird, and for a lot of coaster enthusiasts just don't think it's right. But I found it to be very intense, especially at night. Night was very intense front row, and that first turn just pulls a lot of positive G's, and the airtime was worth it. Even though there's not a lot of airtime hills, there's only 5 airtime hills, it was worth every single time because I was out of my seat. And then if you're in the back row, you're always out of your seat. Even in the straight sections, I had to say you were out of your seat. Number 4 is Kingda Ka. As I was saying with Volcano, how I said it's the best launch on a coaster, but not the best coaster with a launch. This coaster is better and it has a launch, but Volcano's launch is better than this one just because this one is pretty shaky, and that's why it makes number 4. It's very shaky. I've ridden this front row at night and it is amazing. It's just really shaky, and I had water in my face, and that doesn't really help when you're going 120 miles an hour. Other than that, this is a really good roller coaster. I love Stratocoasters. Number 3 is the final roller coaster from Six Flags Great Adventure. I know Six Flags Great Adventure has a lot of great steel roller coasters, and this is the best one out of them all. Nitro, it is pretty intense. I love the 80 miles per hour that this hypercoaster gives. I like how this coaster mixes terrain with twistiness and airtime. I had to say, even though there's a lot of twistiness, I did have a lot of airtime as well, which is really good for a hypercoaster. There are not a lot of hypercoasters that can mix twistiness with airtime, so I really like that. But a Paul's Chariot is better because there is more airtime and it's really more intense. But I have to say, if you're not riding front row on this, it is pretty shaky. I think over the years it's starting to get a B&M rattle to it. It is more shaky to it, but it still gives a great ride. And front row, you're just going to have the wind blowing in your face, and it makes it all a really intense ride. And my number 1 is Intimidator 305 at Kings Dominion. This is the best steel coaster in in my top 10 countdown, of course. I don't know why I said that, but this is one of the best steel roller coasters in the world. It is very underrated. It didn't even make the Golden Ticket Awards. It didn't even make that, which kind of sucks. This is such underrated. And yet on the Mitch Hawker poll, it went really high up. I think it was in the top 3 even for the Mitch Hawker poll. So I don't understand what you guys are doing at Amusement Today, because this is one of the most underrated steel roller coasters ever. It is amazing. It should be up there with Maverick and Millennium Force. It should be that high up with them, even though Millennium Force and Maverick are better. This should be right next to them, because this is a mix between Millennium Force and Maverick. What could be better? Combining Maverick and Millennium Force? That is actually really cool. So I think that they need to decide to get this one a little bit higher, because this just feels, I feel so bad for this roller coaster that it's such down there and not higher up in the top 10 list. So that is all. That is my top 10 list. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked this video. If you want to see more of my videos, subscribe and comment down below for what your thoughts and what you think your top 10 favorite coasters are. Thanks. Bye.